supposed to be done yesterday is when I wanted to do this. However, due to technical difficulties, I was not able to. So, going forward, I definitely want to have a more orderly fashion to how I deliver or make these deliveries. But like I always tell my clients, you can't finish until you start. So I want to go ahead and get number one out since I'll be mostly talking about myself, which I don't really like to do. So this is episode one of my journey into the podcast world of the Make It Make Sense Health and Nutrition podcast. All right, I am Frank Hamilton. I am an online fitness coach. I am also a professional men's physique athlete with the IFBB. Um, being as this is a one of one, well, number one, I did just want to um, make it the foundation, and that would be how I started, how and why I started my fitness journey. Now, the misconception is that I was, always into fitness or always big or anything like that, but that couldn't be any farther from the truth. I actually, let's see, I remember when I was in high school, I took a weightlifting class, and I was told by uh, the we had an intern, and I was told by the intern that because of my body type, first time I ever heard anything about it, I didn't even know what a body type was. Um, I'm an ectomorph, meaning I had like long limbs and small joints. Would be that I would have difficulty being able to gain muscle. I'm like as a kid, I'm like, all right, well, that's enough weightlifting. I'm through with that. Uh, but when I got into college, a buddy of mine and I used to work out a little bit. We used to just go to um, the free gyms at apartment buildings or whatever, right? So that was like my initial just like lifting weights, just seeing what machines are in gyms and things like that. I mean, of course, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. All right, so we fast forward. Always been a rather small guy, around 175, 180 pounds, depending on how much I ate that day. Um, let's see. I wanted to play basketball, so I was doing some camps and things to try to go overseas. So I could say consistently my weight was around 178. Around that time, I was rear-ended by a drunk driver. Uh, Rear-ended by a drunk driver, ended up with bulging disc in my lower back, and lost a lot of weight, which is surprising. From 170, you really can't afford to lose a lot. So I lost about 30 pounds, 30, 35 pounds. I was down to 140. Got down to 140. Um, just it was just whatever. Didn't care. I wasn't really eating much. Maybe one meal was all junk food every day. Nutrition was horrible at the time. So I talked with some guys I knew living in Florida. I used to go to the driving range, and I was talking to these guys at the driving range, and they were telling me that I was telling them that the doctors told me that I may need to have back surgery, or I should start working out, and that would avoid the back surgery. And some guys told me, they're like, Frank, I'm be honest with you, you'd rather just work out because your first back surgery, back surgery, your first one is just, the first one. I was like, well, I can't even stand a paper cut. So the last thing I could think of was having multiple back surgeries, being cut open and things like that. So I started working out. Now, that all sounds good, right? In between that time and me actually starting to work out seriously was I it was a summer, maybe during the summertime, something like that. I called up a couple of my friends, and we went to Cocoa Beach, and I called them up, picked them all up, go to Cocoa Beach, and when we get out of the car, they all take their shirts off, and all these dudes got big, massive chests and shoulders and six packs and stuff, and And me, still coming off, my accident, I was 140 pounds. I'm like, okay, so we work out now? Like, is no one told me this is what we do now? Okay, all right. So, that was like a wake up, looking at all your friends, look a certain way, especially at the beach. And then so you start to take notice of yourself. So I'm like, all right, whatever, whatever. Maybe less than a week after that, I go to, I'm hanging out with some friends, and one of the guys looks over at me and he was like, man, like, yeah, I know you're going through something right now, man, but you're not eating? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, man, why does your chest go backwards? And what? He's like, man, you are so skinny. I was like, oh, all right. So those are the three things we could say then, right? Because you had, the accident, I need to work out to avoid back surgery. Um, the beach incident where, all my friends look great with their shirts off and I look like a beanpole. And then you had this one of my friends just openly like mocking me, making fun of me. So that same day I hung around, stayed over with my buddies for a couple, maybe about 15, 20 minutes. And I left there, told them I had some things to do, and literally went straight from there, went to 7-Eleven, bought me 2 Gatorades, went to GNC, and bought some creatine and I think a pre-workout. I don't know. I know I bought some creatine because I've heard that that's what, is the thing to do is you drink creatine, or you take creatine and it gives you muscles. Again, I had no clue to what I was doing. So literally did that for 365 days, an entire year. I did that, right? Hey, what's going on, Corey? Um, did that for an entire year, worked out. When I first started working out, I can only bench press the bar, the 45-pound bar by itself. It was a major feat for me after I was able to like put like a 25 on each side. Like I thought I was like the man at that time, right? So this is going on over and over, right? I'm picking up a little strength, you could say, because I'm adding weight onto the bar. But after a year, I still look the same. Um, I started out at 140 pounds. That by the end of that first year, I was 142 pounds. There's really no real difference in how I look, right? So I was like, well, this is dumb. I gave it a shot. It didn't work out. So it's a story I tell often. I was actually going to LA Fitness in Oviedo to cancel my membership. Um, as I go in to cancel my membership, I see a buddy of mine, Chris Perkins, I grew up with in church. He's going into the gym. I'm leaving, going up to the front desk to cancel my membership. And I tell everybody, dude was stacked. I mean, he had everything I was looking for. And so I asked him, what did you do? He's like, man, I just work out. And I was like, when? He said, every day. Like, what time? He's like, around the same time, around 6:37. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. So I went home. I didn't uh I didn't cancel my membership, went home, and I met Chris every single day at the gym. Me, him, and a guy named Dave. We worked out 7 days, never failed. At least for a year. So now this is 2 years in, right? During the time of Chris and Dave working out, Chris was just his body was phenomenal. Just looked great, and so he was like what Dave and I wanted to be. He was, what we were trying to achieve, really, right? So we had a who could get abs contest. Chris laughed it off. It's better be between you and Dave because you can't catch me. And he was right. He was right. We couldn't. We couldn't. His abs are awesome. So I Dave and I got into it, just doing our ab exercise, and I was every day. I was relentless. I was doing, and this is something I have new clients do also, depending on where they are. I was doing 500 reps of ab exercises, whether it be crunches, sit ups, leg raises, flutter kicks, whatever. Just 500 reps every single day. Um, So this first year worked out by myself, I gained 2 pounds. The second year working out with Chris, definitely put on some weight. I'm around 190, 195. No real abs. But then maybe 3 to 4 months after that second year, I'll never forget. This is like my moment. This was when I said, all right, working out works. I get it now. I get it. I was getting ready for work one morning and I leaned over the sink to brush my teeth. And it was the first time I could ever remember that I leaned over the sink and my stomach didn't hang down. And I got to tell you, there was no one. I mean, that is my one thing. I mean, that is when I hit that moment, right? It was like, okay, so there's a reason, there's a purpose, and not only not a purpose for everything that I've done, but there was more of a purpose to keep going because it's like, well, if I could do that in that amount of time, not really knowing a lot, imagine now if I just took the time to educate myself and learn more, what would I be able to do? Right. So after that, it's like, all right, so now when I'm walking through the gym, people are looking at me different. It's like, yeah, that's the guy. At work, people are like, man, you work out. It was, you can tell, right? So, but I want to know more. I want to do more. Like now, I got that. I got the bug in me. So it was like I started asking all these trainers, you know, how do you do this and how do you do that? Or I would go to like the big guys in the gym, like how do you do this and how do you do that? And like no one had an answer. Everyone gave me the same old, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I am college educated. I am a student. I know how to learn. I know how to read. So that's what I did. I was like, well, let me learn what's going on. So I made my initial attempt at becoming a personal trainer. I went through a certification course. I got all the way up to the final exam. I ended up moving from Florida to Arizona, um, and then put being a trainer on the back burner. But the thing about when I moved to Arizona, I didn't know anybody. It was just me by myself. So I still had my LA Fitness membership. So I just went to the gym like every single day, just working out, working out, working out. And it got to the point where everyone in Arizona knows, oh, that's just Frank. Frank works out. And it was just, it was awesome that I built myself into a person that knowing already and people that knew me where I came from to now like no one would even expect that I was undersized and smaller framed and what I like to call runners lean. I don't like saying skinny, you know. But so it was great and it's a feeling of self-confidence and it changes, it minimized a lot of insecurities because a lot of people, most people actually wouldn't think that I'm shy and I'm an introvert. But in all honesty, I am. It's hard for me to deal with certain things. However, since changing myself, I have become more confident in a lot of things that I do. And because I know how good it feels to change yourself, not just on the outside how good it feels, but on the inside how good it feels. How your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and you'll stand up straighter, you'll look people in their eyes, shoulders back. It feels great. So then I started, a lot of people in Arizona, man, you train? Do you train? Do you train? I was like, nah, I don't. I just work out, just work out. But it was just like I kept being pulled a certain way. So right before I became a trainer, I was standing at the juice bar at the LA Fitness where I went to, where a guy who's still a friend of mine now, Tim, has the juice bar over at Moon Valley LA Fitness, 3rd Street and Greenway, Phoenix, Arizona. And this guy, Dave, comes up to me and speaks to Tim. Everybody knows Tim. Speaks to me, didn't really know me. We just seen him working out. And he was just like, hey, did I compete against you last year? And I was like, in what? He was like, in bodybuilding. I was like, nah, man, I don't do that. It's like, are you sure? I'm like, 'cause at the time I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. So I was like, no, like, trust me, I do not do that. And he was just like, hey man, you should give it a shot. You'd be good at it. Like, all right, I didn't really think anything of it, but I was like, okay, still didn't know anything. All I knew is that I used to work out at LA Fitness twice a day. Before work at like 5:36 in the morning, then again after work, right? So before work, I'd always see this lady in there, Monica. I learned her name, but before I knew her name, this lady in there, and she used to do some great exercises with a lot of weight, and her body was ripped, and it was just. One day I had to ask, like, why do you look like that, and how can I do the same? And she told me that she had gotten into bodybuilding, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. And also, someone mentioned to me about doing a show. I've been thinking about competing myself. Do you think you could help me? And she's like, well, I've never trained anyone, but I'll teach you everything I know. So I'm like, awesome, that's great. So we're training every morning at 6. Man, she was, oh my gosh. I tell everybody, man, Monica taught me a lot. Um, Short lady, great story. Just awesome. She just awesome. I owe so much to her, right? So while training, I hurt my knee or whatever. Didn't really understand about competing in shows. Never done one. Didn't know how to really go about it. So the whole thing of that fizzled out. Plus, within that time, being so turned on by Monica training me that I went ahead and went through another certification to become a personal trainer. So now I have my certification as a trainer. I'm working out every day. I'm being trained, and one day I'm just at LA Fitness, and one of the managers came up to me, Chuck was his name, and he was like, "Man, Frank, you're always here, man. You should just work here." And I was just like, "Well, then hire me." He's like, "What do you want to be?" I was like, "A trainer." Like, "Are you certified?" I was like, "Yep." So he's like, "Come here." Took me over to the personal training manager. At the time, her name was Ashley. Ashley, hire my boy Frank as a trainer. Is he certified? Yeah, he is. All right, you hired to start Monday. What? What? What just happened here? I was so lost. I mean, of course, I wanted to be a trainer, but I didn't really know how to be a trainer. Like this, I didn't, man. Like, okay, all right, okay. So this what we're doing. This what we're doing, right? I go. I come back. I start training. I have to sit in with one of the current trainers, and he's giving me the lowdown. Frank, when you're doing this, your clients don't want to learn anything. Just tell them the exercise, count for them, move on to the next exercise, and just get them out of the way, right? So I'm working for LA Fitness, and as when I'm training maybe 1 to 2 people a week, just like and LA Fitness at this time that was my only job, and so I was working maybe 12 hours a week. No, 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 2 hours a week. Sorry about that. About 2 hours a week as far as the session stuff. I'm talking to Monica, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't get it. I don't get it. Trying to train people, and it's just not working. Like, what am I doing wrong? So she told me, and I told her what my approach was. I just count for them, and then we move on to the next exercise. And one of the great things that Monica did for me when she was training me was she allowed me to ask questions. And so she told me to do a certain thing. I'm like, well, why am I doing that? And like, okay, what does that do? And what does that do? And how does this work? And so I learned so much, just being a trainee. And so when I told her how I was training people, just telling them, what to do when counting, she was like, well, how do I train you, Frank? I was like, well, you tell me everything that you're doing and why. She's like, well, you don't think other people want to know that? Maybe, right? So that's what I started doing. I started teaching people. I would go to the gym early. And if I saw people working out, I would see them and approach them and ask them if they wanted some assistance with the workout, with the exercise they were doing. How to maximize, the effort they're putting in for that exercise. And then I went from working 2 hours a week, with that being what, 4 sessions a week, and 2 to 3 weeks time after that, I went to 85, 90, sometimes 95 sessions a week. I was literally working 6 a.m. to noon, working out from 12:30 to 2, and then working again from 2:30 to 11, Monday through Friday. It was, then it all came down to what I felt when I started training and my body started changing was then delivering that to other people. And so that is the why, the how and the why of my fitness journey. My why was, you know, being medically, being needing it, but the that's a good reason. But the motivation was, for me individually, I wanted to be proud of the frame that I was looking at, not so much as what everybody else got to see, but when I look in the mirror, what am I giving myself maximum effort? And so when I started training people with the same understanding, so it became more of getting everyone else to understand their why. It's what I like to call the honest motivation, right? I always ask people, why are you working out? Why are you coming to the gym? And the first thing everyone says, out of nervousness, is it's I want to be healthy. I'm trying to get my health right. I want to be healthy, Frank. I'm like, well, if that's the case, then watch what you eat, walk around your neighborhood 2, 3 times a day. I was like, or did you get out of the shower, the steam cleared, you wiped away everything from the mirror, you looked at yourself, and you're just like, I want something different. And 9 times out of 10, there's always one, but 9 times out of 10, the answer is always, yeah, Frank, that's what it is. And which is so important for people to understand that the reason they want to work out is because of how they view themselves. Is not only is it a physical motivation that you're doing and your physical health that you're looking to improve, but it's also improving your mental health because now you're being honest with yourself about not only who you are, but who you want to be. And so I always try to make sure that when I train someone, to get their honest motivation. Why do you want to do this? Once you know why you want to do it, and your why will wake you up, your why will turn down trips to the bar, your why will turn down parties, your why will turn down everything that doesn't line up with your goal. And so you have to have that why. Once you have that why, I can give you the how. And there are always steps. There's a process. It doesn't just happen. For me, it took me 2.5 years before I saw ads. And now that was almost, and then after that, it was pretty much all anyone ever knew me for. But there was a 2.5 year process before that even came into anything whatsoever. And so it's important for people to understand, especially when working with me, that not only it's not that I look at page 78 and tell you that this is what happens and such and such and such and such. No, it's personal experience. You know, over the course of the Make It Make Sense podcast here that I have, I'll not only interview people that I respect in the fitness and whatever world or the Make It Make Sense world, but I'll also just, over the 15, almost 20 years I've been training, I'll be, providing some of my personal experience just so people understand, how relatable I am to all issues that can occur. All right, so this was number one. Again, can't finish till you start. So I had to get this one out of the way because I wanted to stop talking about myself. Um, Going forward, I'll continue coming up with my own topics. I'll release them. The topic, if someone has something else they'd like me to talk about, feel free. Um, if someone would like to talk with me one day, message me, let me know what you want to talk about. Definitely a possibility. But until then, it is me, your boy Frank Hamilton, online fitness coach with the Make It Make Sense Health and Fitness podcast. We'll be coming back later with uh, more orderly fashion of my deliveries. Until then, be grinding or be nothing. Take it easy.